Hi guys, so my name is Slump, and I'm here to talk to you about making free stuff work for you. And before we get too far, there are some really awesome photos and icons in this presentation, and they are definitely not mine. There's some great artists that work at Flywheel with me, and their names are Kimberly, Ben, and Andrea, so huge shout out to them. My presentation would look not so good if I didn't have their help. So. Oh, and Kim's in the room right now. You can stand up. Yeah. So all the photography is definitely Kim and Ben. Before we get started, I wanted to quickly introduce myself. So I'm currently 21 years old. I am still a senior at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, majoring in IT innovation, which is essentially a computer science degree with an emphasis on like ideation and innovation. I have had, so this is funny. So I am born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, and I had to put the USA there because like 2 months ago we were in Sydney, and like they're like, yeah, Omaha, Nebraska, but like where exactly is that? And I was like, should probably put USA up there. So for those of you who care, yeah, United States of America, that's where I'm from. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Like you guys don't have accents, and I'm really used to that, so just bear with me. So I've had experiences in kind of a variety of fields. So I'm an engineer by trade, but I've also had experience in design, freelancing there, doing some marketing with Interface Web School, if you're familiar, in Omaha Code School here. Development, so I was a software engineering intern at Flywheel for about a year. And then this previous summer, I went to Apple, and I was fortunate to be a prototyping intern there. I came back. Flywheel still wanted me back, thank goodness. And I became a product management intern. So kind of a broad kind of range of things. I am a developer by heart, though. I love tech, and that's really kind of where my passion is centered. So, what are you going to learn from me today? Hopefully something. That's the hope of these talks, right? But overall, this is kind of like a how-to on how to use free resources to design, develop, and launch a killer website that definitely works for your business or whatever problem you're trying to solve. So we'll talk on everything from the goal of your site, the character it portrays, how that character is implemented into the brand, what tools you use to grow your site, what you're going to use to measure that, and then from there use those measurements to improve it in the long run. And just an FYI, this is very much a beginner talk, but I think it can be applied to a lot of different places. Some tools you might have heard of already, some you haven't, so just keep an open mind with it. So the first thing, and it seems kind of obvious, but a lot of people are like, Kat, I want to make a site. But they don't really think about like why they're actually needing a site. Like, why are you actually like taking the time to develop this site? What is the problem you're trying to solve? Are you trying to market yourself? Are you trying to market a product? Are you trying to get sale leads? Are you trying to gain exposure, etc.? And really, when you think about that, what you build should definitely be centered around that purpose, and you should be able to measure whether or not you have succeeded in what you're set out to do. So from there, it goes on to character, and it seems something that's kind of silly, but as crazy as it sounds, it's actually really important when you're developing a site. It's really the feeling you want visitors to get when they visit your site. Essentially, like, do you want them to feel welcomed? Do you want them to fall in love with you? Do you want them to fall in love with your product, etc.? As silly as it sounds, it is something that you should think about and really keep in mind as you're developing your site in the long run. Oh, and from there, that character is really what's going to shape your brand as well. So think of like the persona as kind of like, I don't know how to say this, but the brand is like the visual representation of your persona. So you think of the character you want to portray, and the brand is like the things, it's a lot of things, but it can be your logo, it can be the theme you use, it can be the font choice that you make. But all of those choices should be based off of the persona that you decided on implementing prior. So normally at this point in the website creation phase, people are like, okay, so we need a graphic designer. And that is great. So some people go out and hire them. That's wonderful. But I think there are a lot of circumstances where you don't necessarily need to hire a design company to be able to make a reputable brand. So these are kind of some tools. So starting, and some examples of that might be like if you have a beauty blog you're starting, or you're trying to launch a landing page. Like in a lot of cases, you can get away with not actually hiring an agency to be able to make something that's reputable. So before you even get started, and before I ever get started, I like to look for places for inspiration. And it's free information, which I love. Free information, free inspiration. But sometimes all you really need is a glimpse at an inspiring article or something like an image to kind of set off your brainstorming around the brand. And there are a lot of free resources that are out there that are really great for inspiration, such as design.google.com, The Layout, which is Flywheel's design publication. They have a lot of different freebies there as well. Facebook.design, and then Dribbble. Dribble's one of my absolute favorites, especially being a developer with a love for design. There are a lot of really neat projects that you can see and find there. Next up is a logo. So keep in mind when you are looking at different sites, there are things such as like you can only use this for personal use, you can only use this for commercial use, etc. Those are definitely things to watch out for. But overall, keeping that in mind, here are some great resources that you can use to find icons for your site, to be able to find fonts for your site. And then from there, like color schemes. There are some really great color generators that can kind of help you pull together what different colors you want to use to instill your brand. From there, photos. This is something that really comes into play when you have a blog. You're going to want either your own photography or stock photos. And sometimes if you don't feel like you're good with the camera and you can't come up with those high quality images, there are a lot of free resources and sites that you can go to access that are completely free for personal and commercial use. So my favorite is Unsplash, which is the first one on the list. I only go to the last four if I can't find any in the first one. But I mean, Unsplash is really good. You'll see if you visit it, and if you become familiar with the site, you'll see different brands and be like, oh, that's from Unsplash. Like they didn't take that picture. I've seen it before. Which is totally okay. They're completely high resolution. They're really great for any purpose you have. They have a variety of photos, etc. And then onto the theme. So we have a lot of WordPress gurus in here who would tell you, like, be careful when you go find free themes. Like, there can be some really not so great ones out there. But there's also some really good ones. So I personally like to Google and find some free themes and kind of test them out and look at ratings and reviews before I install them. But then I end up downloading them and installing them straight into the WordPress dashboard. I found some great ones on blogs such as ColorLib, Creative Block, WP, MudeDev. I don't know. I'm totally gonna, yeah, okay, I said it right. That's good. But yeah, some really great themes that you can find that probably fit the personality, or you can customize the personality and the brand that you're looking for. From there, you want to be able to grow your site. So this kind of strays away from the website. You think of the website as a whole as a great tool for growth, but there are also things that and different tools you can utilize to be able to grow your site even more that are external. So things such as social platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. all of those things where you can build content that reflects the site you're making and use those platforms to draw people to your site. So then you can manage it using different platforms such as HootSuite, and then use things such as Google Analytics to be able to have metric around how your site is doing. So these are some of my favorite apps that are actually out there to manage kind of social platforms in general. So Visco is my favorite for filters. So if you take a photo that has really good high quality filters that kind of give you a more reputable image. And from there, WordSwag I use for quotes a lot. And then a couple more like Studio, Tags for Likes, which has to do with hashtags, which can also draw more visitors to your site. And then from there, UNUM, which is what is up here, is used to kind of plan out Instagram. Before you post anything, you can see what it will look like on your phone. So once again, there are a lot of WordPress gurus in here who will tell you which plugins to use and which plugins not to. These are some of my favorite, whether or not they ruin a site or not. I don't think any of them are like completely nasty, are they? Okay, good. Clear, check. I always get really nervous about these kinds of things because I'm like, I work with people who are way smarter than me and know what to put on a site and what don't, or what not to. But essentially these plugins are really useful if you want to implement your Instagram. Of course, have the Instagram feed plugins such as the menu social icons, caching, header and footers, and then Google Analytics, which will allow you to kind of install and see how your site is doing. From there, so you have all these tools and you're using them, but like, how do you know that you're reaching that goal that you set out to reach? This is where measurement through tools comes in handy, such as social platforms, which I already talked about, but you can measure like how you're doing in retweets, likes, impressions, etc. And from there, things like Google Analytics, so track how you're doing, how many people are visiting your site, what page on your site is drawing the most visitors, do people leave right when they get to your site, etc. So yeah, these are great tools for social media analytics, such as Buffer, Hootsuite, Social Mention, Iconosquare. I prefer the top two, Buffer and Hootsuite, and they both have really great free plans as well, so you don't have to pay for them, which is really good. But in terms of analytics, you can definitely figure out the things that I had mentioned before, and then decide if you need to make changes. So you figure out who's visiting your site. If they are leaving after they first get to your site, like maybe you don't have a post that's like drawing people in. Maybe you need to change up your homepage to draw people through to another certain page, etc. So yes, what channels? Oh, you can also tell channels through this as well. Like, are people coming to your site through Facebook, through Twitter, etc. And then from there, you use those results and you improve your site. So do you want to, which hashtags work? What platforms give you the most traction? And then you use what you learned from those tools to really take your site to the next level. And I'm a little biased when it comes to hosting. Unfortunately, hosting isn't always free. However, at our table out front, if you do sign up, we're giving away a free year of hosting to people at WordCamp Omaha. So feel free. It's a little advertising promo, but for real, free stuff is great, and that's what this talk is about. So feel free to stop by the booth. But I am a little biased, but you want to choose the best place for your site to live that will allow it to grow and really stand sturdy. But I wanted to show, I actually ended up creating a blog for myself using kind of the advice that I gave you all today. This is a site that is made off of completely free resources, a free font. Here, it'll go through it. Photography, thanks to Kim, who's in the back. I was fortunate to have a little photo shoot with her. But using the different things I talked about to make a site that does look somewhat reputable and trustworthy, using all free resources. So, yes, today we talked about like the goal, how you're going to think about the character and instill it in the brand. From there, grow your site using certain tools, then measure and improve. I'd like to thank everyone here for the opportunity to speak, and the organizers. Putting on an event like this is not easy. So actually, good job, you. And it was kind of a short talk, but if you have questions, that would be awesome. Yes.
I have a question about analytics.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to use the analytics, but I want to know how I can apply the results to my page or back to where it comes from. So traffic.
A lot of that is going to come from analyzing like the data that you're getting back from Google Analytics, and that takes looking up things like what is my bounce rate? And so bounce rate is like if someone gets to your site and leaves right away, then it's the thing like I talked about, like maybe you don't have something in your homepage that's actually drawing them further, and they're just leaving right when they get there. Different stats or data around those types of things can really give you like the information you need to make decisions around your site. Yes.
I just want to comment back to that. One of the things Google Analytics is doing is actually identifying a user IDs. They don't know really anything about them, but you can actually go through and track the activity of that user. And so one of the things you can do is start finding trends in your analytics. For example, network domain is an option, and you can see where if somebody's coming and they're coming a lot and they're not bouncing, you can kind of track down the day they come, the time they come, find that user ID, and then actually see their path. But one of the things that we've done with that is we use that to define personas. And so that, we can have that whole path. That is a person who is doing something, and they have a persona. Who is that person? Why are they doing it? What kind of business are they in? How can we replicate that? And using that persona, so we start looking these personas up. And so now we're trying to change our website, to make sure that we have success stories directed at people who are interested in it. A contact form we didn't have on before. Trying to push into the buying cycle of our website so we can, use that persona information and actually make it.
Yeah, you can find out almost anything if you have like Google Analytics or some kind of tracking on your site. So you can use it in a lot of different ways, that's for sure. Any other questions? Yes.
One of the hardest things I personally found, because I'm not as technical as I probably should be, is when I'm putting up a site, is finding the right theme.
Mm-hmm.
And finding a theme that would be, that lends itself to the changes in the design that I would like to see. We already discussed what to look for in a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Freebies are your kind of limited.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say, like, if I'm not talking technical here, like how well the theme functions, I always look for ones that are very simple and easy to like customize. And I normally go out somewhere, like I said, Googling free WordPress themes, and look for the ones that have really good ratings and have the customizing that I want. From there, I do sometimes like edit things like the CSS, so like I do more than the theme allows. Definitely, yeah. But yeah, a lot of the team here could definitely, from Flywheel, direct you in the right way in terms of like the technicality of it. But I always try and go somewhere else or find one from within the dashboard that I like.
On this idea of themes, kind of a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I look for free themes within WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
But now you said I can go outside WordPress.
Yes.
So how do I pull that into WordPress?
You can just download the theme onto your computer, and then from there, there's like an upload area within themes itself if you go to where they're managed, and you can add a new theme that way as well. So, oh, sorry.
I think his problem is using WordPress.com.
Yeah. Oh, hosted. Yeah. Oh, FTP. Yeah. Yeah. That'll. Yeah. If you. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yes. Flywheel. I know some people who could speak to this.
Don't get me started. Visual Composer.
And why is that?
Because it breaks a lot. It doesn't. It's not very stable. Is the short answer.
Here at Flywheel, we have very strong opinions about plugins.
So what if you do need page composition, then what do you use? In lieu, is Page Builder better?
There is a free theme called Layers at layerswp.com. It's modular, so you can pay for add-ons, but it has a page builder built into it. I would say if you're going to use a page builder, use a very good quality premium one.
So Pippin Williamson is a really good developer. He just did a very in-depth comparison of page building tools. And he actually came at it from the I hate all page builders point of view and actually found out that some of them are not terrible. And the one he recommended highest is Beaver Builder, which is a fairly well-known one. And so if you search Pippin Williamson page builders, you can read, and it's seriously thousands and thousands of words. So if you really want to get in depth, that's a very good place to start.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the talks today.